What's going on, everyone? This is Chris Gunzz, and welcome to the Chris Gunzz Boxing Show. My guest for this segment is one of the great trainers in the game today, trainer of a lot of great fighters, and one of whom is arguably the best light heavyweight on the planet, WBO light heavyweight champion Sergey Kovalev, who will be doing battle on March 29th at the Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The event's promoted by Main Events, and it's going to be televised on HBO. And as usual, leading them into the ring is my next guest, John David Jackson. Thanks for joining me, John David. How are you, my man?
Not too bad, Chris. And having me, it's always a pleasure to interview by you.
All right, thank you for being there. Sergey Kovalev, John David. Back in the ring on March 29th. We're still in the early stages of training. When did he get back in the gym to start preparing for this fight, or has he yet?
What he does is his is a two-part training camp. The first part, he's in Big Bear right now as we speak. So for the first month, he does all of his physical training up there at high altitude. And then he and I will get together the very first week in March. And so for 4 weeks, we will put a game plan together for this particular opponent on March 29th.
And what kind of shape does he come into training camp with? Of course, he takes his profession real seriously. He came up in the Russian system. He's a pro pretty much as an amateur. What kind of shape does he come into camp in?
Conditioning is nice. Like I said, he did all the physical part before camp. Our camp starts. So he comes to me. He's already in pretty good condition. Now we just get him in boxing condition, ring shape. So, we'll go with the strategy and work on different things and just pretty much get him in boxing shape. Whatever small mistakes or sometimes, boxers, once they're away from the gym, they go back to their bad habits. So we just kind of get them out of whatever bad habits he may get into, or things he may have forgotten about when he's been away from the ring. We just get him back in the groove and make sure he's pitching sharp on fight night. So he's not hard, because he definitely comes to camp already in a physical condition. And at that point, it's just a boxing part that takes over.
Yeah. And how many weeks is ideal for Sergey to train for a fight and be at his best?
If I could have him with me, I'd say 6 or 7. But I usually have him for 4 or 5 weeks straight. Like I said, the first month he's doing his conditioning of a Big Bear. So I at least get him for at least 4 weeks before he gets ready.
Yeah, and a couple of days ago, the teleconference for the fight with Sergey Agnew was held, and I was on the call. And you said you'd be dissecting the video of Sergey Agnew, and any video you could get your hands on in a few weeks. Did you have any videos come your way yet?
Hopefully by next week. Listen, they're hard to come by. There's not a lot of great footage on this kid, from my knowledge. I guess Jolene and Kat can give me all they can. But whatever I got, I'll take from that. I've seen one fight on YouTube, but it was terrible. It was like maybe his 4th or 5th pro fight. I know that he has to have improved considerably since then. So if we don't get videos, then we just work off what we do best, and that's just getting Sergey in the best shape that we can get him in. And no matter what kind of opponent, kind of style that he's presented with, we have to deal with that. Like I said, when you and I spoke last, there's only 2 kind of ways this kid can fight. Either you're going to be in a box or you're going to punch. If you box, it might make for an interesting fight for 3 rounds, because it might go more than 3 or 4. But if he likes to punch in his brain, well then, he's writing on suicide ticket. So, we decided to get brave and decided to punch. But the first time he gets hit, I think he'll go into a retreat mode and try to last as long as he can.
Mm-hmm. And then, what did you hear so far? Do you ask around? If you can't get your hands on any videos, do you ask people who might have seen them what they?
I asked people in the amateur world, or some, people that might know him from Chicago. Honestly, the things I've heard aren't too favorable for him. So, and I don't want to use the things that I've heard, to go into this training camp with a big head, or just something that we got this fight sewn up. So we train for him like we train for every guy. We take every opponent seriously. We train like he's the most dangerous guy on the planet right now, which to us he is, because he's going to step in the ring with us, and anything can happen on any given night and any fight. So we just go in there and we prepare for different styles. But it's funny, Chris, that we talk about it. Even though we prepare for different styles, once Sergey hits these guys, their whole style might change. Like I said, survival mode might take over, and they forget, to be brave or to try to make him engage in a slugfest. So we're going to prepare for different styles, and we'll have different styles in sparring for him. But come find that once he probably gets that real combination, I think all of that's going to go out the window, and this kid might go into survival mode, because this will be his biggest test to date. So, he's going to be that kind of platform as far as boxing goes, and this is his biggest stage. So, let's see how he handles it. He might handle it well, and that makes for an interesting fight. Other bright lights may get him. So, we don't know until March 29th what happens. So all we're going to do is be prepared for it, and whatever style he tries to present, see if we can break him down and have him end up boxing the way Sergey wants the fight to go.
Yeah, and on the teleconference call, I asked Sergey Agnew what he thought of Sergey as a fighter and what attributes he thought got him to the point of being champion and arguably the best in the division. He kind of sounded like dismissive and finished by saying that he thought Sergey was pretty much ordinary. What goes through your mind when you hear the guy say that Sergey's ordinary?
Well, I kind of laugh because, that's pretty much what Nathan Cleverly was, him and his father was saying. He's ordinary. Once we get in the ring with him, we're going to expose him for being a one-dimensional fighter. And it's what I said that day in the conference. Most boxers, they underestimate his boxing ability. He doesn't go in for one punch to knock you out. He sets you up. He feints, and then moves you in a position to hit you with good shots. So it's not like he goes in there and runs out, tries to, throwing haymakers at you, hoping to land one of his big bombs. And I'm like you, I heard the kid talking. He kind of dismissed Sergey to be an ordinary fighter. That's okay, we don't mind that, because once the bell ring, he gets hit, and I tell everybody, once a fighter gets hit by Sergey, they realize, oh man, I'm just totally different. League I'm in here, no one told me about this. No one told me about this part of the game, because it hurts. So I think it could be an interesting evening if this kid can really fight. I haven't seen the tapes. I've seen weren't that good. From what I've heard he's been stopped twice as an amateur. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I can tell you this: most guys honestly don't want to fight Sergey, so it's hard for Sergey to get fights. So for this kid to just step up, or his people to accept the fight for him, I have to applaud him a little bit, because it gives us a chance to get some work in and be seen on TV again. I think maybe until he steps in the ring and gets hit by Sergey, he may dismiss him. Because if you look at Sergey, he doesn't look very intimidating. This guy, he's kind of skinny, wiry kid. So you look at it, this guy, he's not built that much. He's not built like Charles Atlas. He's not big and strong, looking. So when you look at him, you can dismiss him and say, this guy, he's going to be easy. But once he hits him, it's a totally different ball game for you. You say, man, it's a lot different than what I thought it was. So I think once he gets in the ring and gets hit by Sergey, his perception of the fight would definitely change.
Yeah, and Sergey smiles a lot too, so it kind of throws people.
Yeah, he looks at this smile, and he's nice. It's a business. One thing. But once he gets in the ring, his whole demeanor changes. So he might be nice up until the bell rings. Once that bell rings, it's all business.
Yep. And Kathy Duva mentioned that Sergey's fighting two opponents, one being Agnew and the other's not overlooking him. Does it worry you at all that he might overlook this guy because he is not known, and he is coming off that big year last year where he had a lot of guys who were known in the boxing world? Here's an unknown guy. Do you worry that he might be overlooking him?
No, Chris. It's part of my job to make sure that he doesn't overlook opponents. So when we get to camp, I take every opponent as though he's the champion, and I push Sergey to the limit to make sure that he's in the best condition and best physical and mental shape he can be and come fight night. And I always remind him now that he is champion. You are the hunt. Everyone's hunting for you now. And it may not be they're not knocking on the doors to get a shot at your title, but there's a few that are willing to take that risk. So you're not going to chase anybody now. They're going to chase you, and eventually you become a household name. And HBO overlook that checkbook a little bit more. Then everybody's going to fight you. They don't want to get paid. It doesn't matter who you are. As long as they see there's a chance for them to make some money, they're going to have to fight you. Maybe they may not do it, but the managers may be a little bit braver than the fighters. So, I don't. When he goes to camp, I overlook no opponent. I try to make him realize that every opponent at that point is the most dangerous opponent in your career because they're trying to take your goal, what you achieved to obtain, and now that you've obtained it, now everyone's trying to take it from you. And he understands that because, like you said, he wants more titles. He'd like to get one more this year, but he wants to unify all of them. And he knows that Stevenson presents the biggest financial reward for him. But there's others out there now, so much, there's more than just that one person. So you have to always be on top of your game to make sure that you don't get cut short. And he understands that. And, he has other goals in life, as far as getting his mother out of Russia and doing certain things to make sure that she's financially secure. So those are the things that keep motivating him to be the best that he can be and to, hopefully, but if politics don't get in the way of it, unify all 4 belts.
Yeah, and if he doesn't overlook Cedric and things go as most people in the boxing world think they will, you'll be looking for the next guy to be in the ring with your guy. And you mentioned, and it's kind of funny you mentioned that he's the hunted, but it seems like everybody else who has a title is running away. Yesterday, Stevenson signed with Al Haymon, and it seems like HBO, everyone knows HBO and Al Haymon's relationship's not good, and most Al Haymon's fighters fight on Showtime. Did it seem just like another way of Adonis running away? Because I remember in their doubleheader in Montreal when Max Kellerman asked Sergey who he wanted next, he wants anyone with a title, and he mentioned Stevenson by name. And then when Max said the same thing to Stevenson, he didn't even say the name Sergey. So
and he never does. He avoids that name at all possible opportunities. There's a lot of intangibles now that Al's involved with Adonis. The one thing you look at it, and Bernard plays this card well all of a sudden. You gotta remember years ago Bernard was always talking about the system, how he hated the system, and he despised it to the fight. He had sue different people to get where he's at to a degree. Well, now he's fat. He's a fat cat. He's sitting back. Now he's playing that same card that he fought so much against, because now he says it's Cold War and he can't fight Kovalev because he's Showtime and Kovalev HBO. Well, Bernard really hasn't, nobody, because he hasn't signed any deal with Showtime. Golden Boy there, that's part of it. He could, if he really wanted Sergey, he was at the system like he did years ago when he was young and hungry. Now that he's fat and on the side of the fence, he's going to play the same game that others played against him years ago. And that's Bernard. But Bernard's smart that way. And that's the right thing to do, because if he fought Sergey, he would get hurt seriously. He knows he'll talk a good game. Sergey doesn't want to fight him. But he's going to do that. To get back to Al Haymon, guys, it's a good move for Stevenson in a way. It's bad because he signed a deal with HBO. So HBO and Al can't get together. Guess who sits on the fence? Stevenson does, because they don't have to really fight him. I guess whatever the contract calls for, it calls for a certain amount of fights. And I think one of those fights would be September 17th against Kovalev. That's the date that was given to us if it happens. So how much can he really fight Showtime? Because HBO, because he has a contract with them, and they want this fight. Now Al comes in, Al uses whatever muscle he thinks he has, but he can't listen. HBO's stronger than he is. They don't need his money. He wants their money. So it's gonna be a strange situation to see if it goes that way. But like I told Sergey, if you don't fight him, don't worry about him. Keep knocking people out. I said, as long as you keep building your name and your fan base, the public's gonna demand it now. They're gonna put enough pressure on Al and this kid. Now what does Al do? The ball will be in that court at that point. All Sergey has to do is keep winning fights, keep knocking guys out impressively, and just keep building your stock. If you don't fight him, it's not because he keeps calling the kid out. Like you said, Stevenson won't mention his name. He calls him out. So he's telling people, I want this fight. It's now that Stevenson has Al, now what happens? It makes the picture a little bit more foggy on their side. I told him, I said, don't worry about him. If you get him, you get him. If you don't, you keep going on the road. It's funny. And somebody said, some guy on that same conference call said, well, why doesn't Sergey jump down to 16 fight wars? And and I wanted to jump in, but Kathy was talking. And I said, for what? What has war done lately? Listen, the war's not fight. He finally got called for all that holding that he does. Sergey doesn't hold, he fights. Sergey now is becoming a bigger name. He's not as big a name as Andre yet. But if he keeps doing what he's doing, he'll be more impressive with his knockouts. He'll become a bigger name. I said, you don't need to go down to 160. Why fight him at 168? Make him come up to 175. He probably, the amateur 178, so he can't make 175 and be strong. Make him come up there. If he wants to fight, and that's the fight the public want, make him come to 175. Make him fight you your way. You're champion now. You're becoming a very popular fighter. By this time, next year, he's probably going to be more popular than he is because your fights are more devastating. The knockouts are better than his fights. So people say, they throw that name out there. When Andre's ready to come to 75, hey, he has to meet this kid. I mean, if he's smart, he'll probably, make a fight with him and Stevenson. But, Sergey just has to be just kind of bide his time. Keep knocking guys out. If you get Stevenson, if you don't get him, it's not because you didn't want him. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason that fight didn't happen, it's not your fault. Just keep knocking guys out. Your time will come. You may have forced to clean the division out. Like Andre kind of cleaned out 168. And that, from time to time in boxing, that happens when a champion just cleans the whole division out. Then you got to decide what you want to do. But never succumb to the pressure if you think you have to go down to fight this kid. Make him come up to your weight when you're strong. Don't give these guys any opportunity to, like Dawson. Even though I think War might have beat him anyway, but he went down to 68 for what? The champion at 175. Don't succumb to the pressure of this little bit of money that you're going to get to, jeopardize your chance of winning fights. So that's what Sergey, just stay where you're at. When the time is right, if Andre Ward wants you, he'll let it be known. If not, just keep knocking out the guys you're knocking out. As far as Haymon being with Stevenson, it's great for Stevenson if it works out. Mm-hmm. But you might not get the fight that you want. If Al, I don't know the man personally, but I don't know how his ego is, but if he won't let HBO have their way and they should let him bend a little bit, they can't come together to make this money, then the fight will never happen.
Yeah, I don't think anyone knows Al. Al doesn't let himself be known.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even know what he looks like.
Well, it's funny. The first time I seen him, I found him where they in the conference room for a fight. And after the fight, I looked at the guy. He's dressed like a bum. His suit's ragged. He looks dirty. His beard's all scruffy. I said, man, I think that's Al Haymon right there. He said, you know what? You're right. That is Al. I said, I could tell. The poorest guy in the room. He's the richest guy here. He's smart. He's smart because he's incognito in the cover. Man, no one knows who he is. Yeah. He's the most powerful guy in boxing right now. But you would never know if you looked at it. You think it's a bum. I thought it was a bum at first.
Yeah, it's really something too. The most powerful guy in boxing right now, and no one knows what he looks like. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find out though, figure out what spooks Adonis so much about Sergey. I know Sergey. I mean, people look at him and he is the boogeyman in the division. But I mean, is there a reason? I noticed a picture of Sergey standing with Adonis, and they both seemed and looked like they were in the gym. Was there any sparring that took place at any point between the two?
Well, it's funny because it was Randy fought Marquez, I believe it was, and he wanted us to do a publicity workout with each fighter. So we came in first and we did a little workout, and then Stevenson came in right afterwards. And it's funny because Sergey walked right up to him and shook his hand, and Adonis was looking down at the ground. Sergey said, man, you and me, we fight. He says, Sergey says, no. Steven says, no, wait. Sergey says, no. Because back then, I was like 1.5 million. He said, no, 1.5 million sounds good to me. We fight now. You win, I win. He said, we fight. Steven said, no, we'll run away a while, man, make it get the pot sweeter. I understand what Stevenson was doing. He wants to maximize the dollar value because the chances are he would get knocked out. I mean, he's a left-hand knockout artist. So he knocks out with both hands. So, it's one hand against two. He understands. I had to train Stevenson. We trained him for one fight. His hand is kind of shaky. Got a little bit better, but not much. He's a stiff fighter, but he's a tremendous puncher, and especially with the left hand. So, he knows the chances of winning that like 50-50, and he knows he may get clipped. And he's not very confident within himself about that fight. Now, anybody else, he'll fight, but he never calls out Sergey. Why? Because most fighters know. We know when we kind of met our match, or somebody that's a little bit superior to us. And I think he realized this guy here, he's the real deal. He's not somebody I really want to mess with unless I can cash out and get a great payday for it. So I think he realized the danger that stands in front of him was Sergey. Sergey understands. He says, that's guy won John. Everybody says he's the best. He's the best puncher. He says, I want to see. I I don't want to see if he can hit me. I just want to see if he's the best fighter. If I can do that, he fights me. So he wants to fight more than Stevenson wants it. Stevenson may want it, but I think Stevenson wants it for the money value that it brings. Not for the actual fight to see who's the best fighter. Well, Sergey wants to fight to prove he's the best in the world. And that's what separates them, I think, in this fight. Particular fight anyway.
Yeah. And hopefully HBO and Al Haymon can do business together. It happened recently when Andre Ward defended his title against Edwin Rodriguez, but in that fight, I mean, Edwin Rodriguez is a Al Haymon fighter, but in that fight he's the challenger. So I wonder if it'll be different now that Adonis is the one wielding the power. But the fact that he is signed to HBO, and I hope that nothing gets in the way of that fight from happening, because it's a fight everyone wants to see.
Well, yeah, I think money has a way of changing people's mind sometimes. I'm like, I hope that it gets done eventually, that egos can be, set aside. That, but the thing that I look at, I don't want you to have these guys make you feel that he should get way more than you should get. Maybe he might get a little bit more, who knows? But don't let him think that, he deserves everything and you get nothing. Just have the privilege of fighting for his belt. You're just as popular as he is, honestly. I mean, he pretty much came on the scene in a spectacular fashion the way you did. So it's not like if you look at the opponents, everybody that had Sergey from the last year, they were coming off wins. Stevenson can't say the same thing. Shad was coming off a loss. For the point before that was coming off a loss. So, the one thing Sergey can't afford to do is make them think, make him think that he should just get where they want to give him. If they can't give you what you want, then don't fight it. You don't need it. You're a champion too. You can still get fights out there, and you are an HBO fighter, so you're definitely going to get fights on HBO because they want to see you, and the fans want to see you. You can't succumb to the pressure of thinking, well, they get all the money and we just get whatever left over. Be happy with that. No. If they pay you to compensate you the right way in the same way, I don't make the fight. It's unfortunately that's what it's going to come down to, and that's what it may come down to. Hal's going to get his. Stevenson's going to get his, so how come Sergey can get his? You got to stand strong and say, hey, if it's not right, then guess what? I'll be somebody else. It may not be for as much money. I'll still be asking to be champion, and people still see me, so eventually my time and my money will come. If you stay idle, then you don't get nothing. So don't sit there and think that you have to fight this guy when they want to fight. It's a fight out of Montreal because AQ's going to pay the money, so I guess the audience say we don't need to fight there. No, you don't. You can put it anywhere. Vegas will take it. Some casino in Vegas, they're buying a fight. If it's that popular of a fight, and how much demand, the people will pay. They definitely want it. So don't let them make you think that you have to have what they want it and how much they want to pay you. Just stand strong and keep knocking these guys out. And eventually, they got to give you what you want and what you deserve. And if he can do that, then he'll get what he wants in the end. He won't have to worry about signing with somebody major to get him that kind of money. Just be smart and have your people be smart and make sure that you get paid what you're supposed to get paid.
Yeah. And it's an official pickle that Sergey's in, because you got Adonis, who obviously doesn't want to fight him. Bernard, who like you said, he railed against the system for so long, and he became the system. Now he's hiding behind the Showtime HBO war and making it like he can't fight him. And then, like on the teleconference call, a few days ago, Kathy Duvis said that Beibut Shumanov, another light heavyweight champion, wants no part of it. So it's tough promoting, and it's tough training for the best fights when the best fighters don't want to fight them, and it sucks like that. But there's other big fights coming up. What do you think about the Carl Froch George Groves fight? The winner might eventually be in the ring with your man Sergey. What do you think about that rematch?
I think it's good for England, for the European people, because the first fight was so controversial. Groves kid may have the style to baffle Froch. Froch's not a bad fighter. I like his style, kind of funny, but it's funky, but it works for him, and it's effective for him. Everybody but Ward. I think at 68 he pretty much can out hustle and beat. The other kid Grove, I haven't heard him much, but from the last fight, I see that was controversial, and I think that he may have what it takes that in the rematch to beat Froch. I don't think it's a fight that Froch really wants, but maybe the money is so great they have to take it, and there's so much public demand that the person that's on two to sometimes these guys don't want to really prove that they're champions or they deserve to be champions. or they shouldn't be champions. But I think this fight here is a fight that he has to take and needs to take and needs to defend, beat this guy to prove that he is still, he still deserves to be ranked at the upper echelon of the light super middleweight division. You know, so it's an interesting fight. It's a good fight for the European people. Hopefully the first fight and the second fight to be as good as the first fight without the controversy. And I think if Froch is on top of his game, he should be able to hopefully offset what this guy brings to the table. He's in, but but I'm trying to get Froch. Everybody's trying to get Froch also. So that might be a fight that we can even we get. Hopefully something can be worked out. One of the guys at 68 was come on up to 175 and give the Sergey a shot. But I think he might get caught in that playing game with the rest of the guys and stick with the Stevensons and the Wards and the Hawkins type guys, and then give Sergey a shot to play in the games too.
And of course Sergey had some good luck when he went to England and stopped Nathan Cleverly, so it didn't affect him in any kind of way. That'd be a great fight to go to England again and take on Carl Froch or George Groves, whoever wins that fight. It's a fight I'd be interested in seeing. What do you think about the rematch to Pacquiao-Bradley coming up? How do you see that one playing out?
It's fun. The first fight, I picked Bradley to win. But I was there that night because, I had Bailey, he beat Mike Jones. So, but when I seen the fight, I thought Pacquiao won the fight, honestly. I took Bradley to win. I thought boxing. Now, the Bradley that box Marquez, if that thing Bradley shows up, I don't see Pacquiao beating him at all. But, will that Bradley show up when he get ready again to try to sit there and slug with Pacquiao? If he slugs, he's in trouble. But the same guy that fought Marquez, he's an unbelievable fighter. I mean, I just got to call him by his name. I like Bradley, but when he fights like that, man, he's a nice guy. He boxes his butt off. Those combinations, and he's a very brave fighter, man. Sometimes too good for his own, because the two fights prior to the Marquez fight, man, he took a lot of punishment. Punishment that a guy like with his style should never take it. So if he gets back to boxing like he did with Marquez, I think he's going to give Pacquiao a lot of trouble. The style they fight. Maybe Pacquiao just has his number. For the first fight, Pacquiao seen him with combinations. I never seen Bradley get hit with, really. I was amazed that he was so hittable against Pacquiao, but I think he kind of changed the style up a little bit. So if he's going back to boxing, I just thought I'll box Pacquiao. That's what I thought he was going to do the first fight. I was so surprised that he stood right there and he got to take all those shots. So I think if he boxes, I think he should win the fight. I picked him the first fight. But after the fight, I thought he lost. But I think if he boxes and does what he does best, I think he'll outbox Pacquiao. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Pacquiao has his number and do the same thing he did the first fight. He can get a decision. But if Bradley does what he does best in boxes, I think he'll outpoint Pacquiao.
Yeah, I remember a few years back, people were saying John David Jackson's a Pacquiao hater. You're not a Pacquiao hater, are you?
No, listen, I never hated on him. I just said way back when they never really fought a good Black American fighter style that would box him. Everybody said I was being racist. No, my dad, my stepmother was Filipino, so why should I talk bad about my pet? I just say, hey, he can't fight a good black fighter. Well, he fought Bradley and he beat him. They give Bradley the fight as far as I'm concerned, so I call it like I see it. I think if he it's a Bradley wins that fight, so it's not about race for me. It's about who's the better fighter, who fights the best that night. I think if Bradley does what he's supposed to do, I pick him to win again. But if he doesn't, then I think Pacquiao will get him. It all depends on what kind of fight Bradley decides to fight. So I'm looking bash on man, and he's a great fighter. I don't want to think I'm trying to come down on him. It just depends on what Bradley does that night. To me, determines who's going to win that fight.
Yeah, and who do you think's the best fighter in the game? Is it still Floyd Mayweather?
Because of his record and what he's done, and he made it pick and choose who he wanted to fight. I guess you have to give him a nod. I can't sit there and say he's not. Number two is where you really have your people's universal opinion. I give the nod to Bradley. I say because the way he fights, he doesn't do a lot of grabbing and holding, clinching, and he boxes, man. He'll box you, he'll fight with you. for a while, I just said he's the same type of guy because he won all of his fights over there in Palm Springs. But he's come out. He fights in Vegas now, and he's fought a few other places in Detroit. He's come out a little bit, and definitely he's a fan favorite if he comes to fight. I would give him the number 2 position, and the pound for pound the best fighter.
Mm-hmm. And who would you rather see in the ring with Floyd as a fan? Would you rather it be Maidana or Khan? Who gives him a tougher fight?
Sometimes
Maybe
boxers give boxers more trouble than punchers because boxers they're like matadors. We're waiting for that guy to make those moves and we sidestep him and we take him to school. But one thing I learned as a fighter, and I see a lot of guys trouble with, a lot of boxers can't fight boxers because of the chess game, and you're not really used to that because you're always used to the guy making the first move and you counter off of that. So I haven't told you that. I think Khan would be a tougher opponent because he's not going to just stand right in front of him. If he's smart, he's going to stand right in front of Floyd. He's going to pick Floyd. The fight for him to watch is Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya. Because Oscar's going to fight him. Oscar used that jab more and pick Floyd apart more than what he did down the stretch. He paid down the stretch, but if he could have kept up that same style and just picking Floyd apart that jab and using more than he did, I think he could have beat Floyd that night. But he didn't keep up that same pressure and that same just all around attack. He had to fade down the stretch with Floyd. That's where Floyd got him. I think that's the Floyd the fight to take. We should look at because Floyd's older now. Even though he did dance a little bit in his last fight, it's not the same fluid movement that he used to have. He can't do it for 12 rounds straight. So I think Maidana might give him a little bit of trouble in the beginning because he's young and he's a little bit fresher and he's gonna throw some wild shots. But once Floyd began to take him apart and kind of dissect what he was doing and time him just right, I think he would. If he didn't stop him, he would easily outpoint Maidana down the stretch.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The only other guy that I really remember seeing give Floyd that much problems is Zab Judah for the first half of that fight, and that's another boxer. That's where it worked again. So I think Khan would give him more problems. But now they're saying that Pacquiao and Floyd is a possibility again, which I don't believe. But do you think it's possible? And if they did fight in their next fights, do you see Pacquiao giving them any kind of problem at this point?
I think it's really really to the fans, who cares with that fight? The mystique of that fight is really past its time.
Yeah.
Pacquiao got beat, not once but twice. One was questionable. The mystique of that fight is kind of gone. The luster of it is pretty much worn off. Some people might be diehards and want to see it, but really, the time for that fight is come and gone. How's it going to feel? Pacquiao's been knocked out cold. And I was one of the few people to call that. I said I picked Marquez to knock him out. I believe he's going to knock him out. It's just a tough fight to really call. As far as who wants to see it, the illustrious, no one's really calling for it anymore. Years ago, everybody was calling for it. In the last 2 years, who cares? I mean, it's kind of past. It's kind of past, and it's not boiling anymore. It's done. It's not a fight. Who really wants to see it? I think everybody knows Floyd will win that fight. He's not damaged goods at all, and he's definitely very confident what he can do. Interest probably could. That probably could, but I don't see what would be as much of a sellable fight. I mean, you can still sell it, but not like it once was.
No, you're totally right. And I'm not even excited to see Khan or Maidana in the ring with Floyd because I think Floyd will beat both of them. The only guy that I really would like to see him fight is Triple G. I think that would be a great fight if Triple G could comfortably make weight and fight Floyd. What do you think that fight would look like?
I think you hit around the head. And I didn't even think about him until you brought him up. I think that's the only person that would generate interest. But it would be, and there was kind of the problem. With Floyd saying being in a catch weight was, Floyd saying 154, what would Floyd demand? Because he'll make great demands to make the fight definitely go in his favor as far as before the fight actually happens. That's the only fight, I have to give you wholeheartedly, but that would even make sense for the general public to buy would be Floyd and Triple G. There's no fight out there for him because Martinez is pretty much damaged goods at the legs. I think they're like it once was. His wheels are kind of they're falling off, and Triple G is still strong. He's still in his prime. That's what that guy out there could probably really get Floyd in trouble, real trouble. If he caught him with some great body shots, the way he hit him with, that would make Floyd really have a chance to lose. So even though you brought up, I don't think the fight that he was even entertaining. Because he knows the limitations. He's getting older. This guy's a young man, strong, bigger, probably stronger physically. Floyd not stupid. He understands how much time is left, and he's trying to pick his opponents wisely if he can. He's picking guys a little bit smaller in weight, so when they come up, they're not strong as he is physically. Even though he doesn't walk on that hip, he keeps himself in great condition. I don't think Triple G really is even on his radar scope as far as somebody he wants to fight because he's getting older, man. He's trying to leave the game on a good note, undefeated, and Triple G doesn't present that kind of present to stay undefeated if they fought. That'd be a very dangerous fight for him because this kid's trying to build a big reputation and his stature in boxing, and he definitely wants to win. He's coming to win, so I don't think that fight is a fight that Floyd would even entertain at this stage of his career. If he was a little bit younger, maybe 5, 6 years younger, yeah. But now, I don't think the fight that he wants or needs at this stage of his career. For the fans, it'd be great. Just the hype alone of getting Triple G breaking down and defeat Floyd. But I don't think the fight that Floyd even want to think about it. If you even brought it up to him, he probably hang up on you to special conversation, man. I'm not talking to this guy anymore. Not that he wants, or that he needs if he wants to stay undefeated.
Yeah. And one more fight that I wanted your thoughts on. It's a fight that interests me. It kind of makes me think of Sergey in some ways because I remember when Sergey had one controversial win on his record against Darnell Boone in the first fight. Of course, he avenged that controversy, stopped him easy. But he was only 9-0 at the time he fought Darnell Boone the first time, and Darnell had 30-something fights under his wings already. So it kind of, the experience was a big difference in that fight. And you have someone like maybe who some people say was the greatest amateur who ever lived, Vasyl Lomachenko, is fighting for his world title, and he's only 1-0, fighting against a veteran like Orlando Salido. Do you see that fight as being competitive at all, or how do you see that fight going? 1-0 against someone with so much experience like Orlando Salido.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to see Salido fight twice live. It's 2 different fights. Like I'm in a bad way. He's a grimy old veteran. He comes to fight. He doesn't care. The glamour's not there for him. He knows that he has to fight in the trenches in order to win these fights. They can be dirty, they can be nasty, but he has to do to win. And you got this kid, who's fresh. One pro fight, technically about 5 or 6, the WSB thing. They were in the beginning Canada's pro fight, but now they switched them back to an amateur fight. So he would be technically 6 or 7 right now. But he's 1-0, and Chris, in a way, it's the sad state of boxing. Back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, the guy was like 30-0 before he was really a 6-round fighter, 8-round fighter. Here's a kid 1-0 fight for the title. So they don't have to really make this a dirty regular fight, break this guy down. Hit him everywhere, kneecaps. His buttocks, hit him everywhere. You got to make this guy you got to take him down that nasty road, man, and see how bad he wants it. Because if you let this guy do what he wants, he's going to look all stylish and just catch you up. And hit you with shots that he wants to hit you with. This fight here, so we don't have to really make it a dirty, nasty fight. You might get a couple points taken from you, but you got to make it a fight that allows you to take him into the deep water, man, and drown him for real. Because this guy's going to do what he does best and just pick you apart. And you can't have him for 12 rounds. He punched a little bit, but Salido has to show all the years of experience that he has. He has to bring that out and make it a nasty, dirty fight, man. And hit this guy everywhere and make him really think how bad he won this title, man. If he does that, he'll make it interesting. But if he lets the kid do what he wants to do, he's going to get shut out. And Lomachenko, the kid is in his favor. Lomachenko's better. So it's interesting. Can the old veteran, make this kid fight the way he wants him to fight? Or can the young fresh kid just take him to school and does what he wants to do with him, and stop him later, and get a unanimous decision?
Yeah. And the great John David Jackson. It's always good getting your perspective. trainer of the great Sergey Kovalev. Can't wait to see him in the ring. And you'll be in his corner March 29th at the Boardwalk Hall, live on HBO, promoted by Main Events. And it's always good talking to you. I appreciate your time, and I hope to talk to you again before the fight. I'm glad that the fight's happening because we have one brave guy who's willing to take on Sergey, and he might give it a better fight than anyone expects of him. Sergey Agnew, glad we have someone brave in the boxing world willing to take on the boogeyman of the division. So can't wait to see you in the ring and with your fighter, Sergey Kovalev, John David. Appreciate your time.
Hey, Chris, thank you very much. Once again, man, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and give me a chance to, voice my opinion and give the fans some of the truth in boxing they deserve to hear. So anytime, we want to talk, let me know. I'm here for you, man. I greatly appreciate and truly thankful that, you give me this format of yours to voice my opinion. So once again, I want to say thank you, man, and hope all your fans just keep listening to you, man, and keep, tuning in, because when you know the boxing is great, because you let people really get an insight of it out, like the truth of boxing. That a lot of times they don't get to see. I don't get to hear or see from the viewing public. So thank you, and I appreciate it, brother. I'll be talking again soon in the very near future.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
No problem.